setting up.
You got
YouTube
the video.
in a minute, but
You don't have the video yet.
It's getting there.
A progress bar. Life in the modern era.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody's already been greeted. Okay, we'll start this morning with a roll call.
Rich Rita, Select Board ex officio.
Rick Smith, member.
Morgan Dean, member.
Bill Spence, member.
John Racine, member. Alan Bergo, alternate.
Rob Wilson, alternate.
Margaret Turner, alternate.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rob, could I seat you this morning?
Sounds good.
Good.
Wilson?
Rob Wilson seated. We have a quorum. First on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meetings.
We know you there.
They should be able to see me.
My goodness.
I should go inside.
Mike from the wilderness. Good to have him here. All right, minutes. First, we're reviewing the minutes of May 8th. And I think there are very few revisions. Okay, those notations in red are from guess who? Line 15, do I need to read them or are they?
I think they're fine. You need a motion, Mr. Chair?
Everybody had a chance? A motion.
I move that we accept the minutes of 8 May 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes accepted. Okay, moving to minutes of May 22.
Even less to say.
Yes. Any amendments? Motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of 22 May 2025 as presented.
Second that again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes accepted. Done. Okay, we'll proceed with the meeting. Have a busy agenda this morning. So what we're going to do today is there's a presentation from the of a Tyrell site plan application. There's a report from the White Mountain National Forest Observer, Rick. The report from the Select Board ex officio. A report from the Conservation Commission from the Conservation Commission's ex officio. A report from the Town Working Group from the group member and Planning Board Vice Chair. A Master Plan Action Report from the Planning Board Secretary. Correspondence, there's a letter from Alan Berko, and our calendar review. So our agenda is very full this morning. So I'm going to suspend the privilege of the floor today and resume at our next meeting. Introduction. We have guests this morning. We have James and Michael Sununu from the Tyrell Development Company and a Mr. Nordstrom, is that correct? From Keach Nordstrom, engineers who have been working with the Tyrell Group. And the project name is the Outdoor Adventure Zone. So a few words about meeting procedure. The purpose of this meeting is to determine the completeness of the Tyrell application. This is not a meeting to discuss the merits of the plan. It is not a public hearing where questions from the floor will be heard. Before we begin, I will remind everyone today that this is a public meeting of the Planning Board. The Planning Board welcomes the public at every meeting, and I ask that everyone in attendance be orderly and respectful. Planning Board member comments and questions are to address the completeness, but not the merits of the application. The completeness relates to the application items that are on the Planning Board checklist, which you will see later. If the application is found to be complete, the planning board will announce the date, time, and place for a public hearing. If the application is found to be incomplete, the planning board will request additional information and announce the public hearing after the application is found to be complete. The merits of the application and the summary of the public hearing comments will be discussed only after the planning board determines that the application is complete. The merits will be discussed at another meeting, which could be at the next regular scheduled planning board meeting or at a special meeting to be determined. After the planning board has discussed the merits, the planning board's decisions options are to approve the application, with modifications and conditions, or to reject the plan. Now I'm going to ask the Tyrell Company to proceed with its presentation. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I am James Sununu. I am one of the managers and owners of Tyrell Development Company. And as you know, as was very diligently explained by Bill, we have a site plan application that we have submitted to you for consideration. And obviously the first step is to determine if that application is complete. I will go over some of the elements of that plan with you and then address any issues you have with the application itself. So we are proposing to develop an outdoor adventure zone within the town of Waterville Valley in the C1 district on the lot known, I don't believe this lot has an address, it's lot map 105, lot 1, along Valley Road and Village Road, adjacent to the Ice Arena and Town Square. This outdoor adventure zone consists of a number of elements designed around outdoor activity, as well as a building that supports all these activities and some other resort activities that will be relocated to this location. What we have on the site is at the center of the site, we have the Adventure Center building. That building, and you have some elevation provided as well today. That building is approximately a 4,000 square foot footprint. It is 3 levels. The lower level, which is partially below grade, will house the Nordic and Mountain Biking Center that will be relocated from Town Square. It will operate out of that building. The main level of that building will have the Adventure Center be the focus of the Adventure Center activities and check-in. It will have the retail component that is currently at the Adventure Center at Town Square. It will have some food service through a snack bar cafe area. It will also contain some indoor play area. The upper level of that is smaller, as you can see on the elevation. That level will contain some meeting and seating space, as well as be partially open down to the main level with that indoor play area. The most significant structure on the site is what we are proposing to be an aerial course. That is over to the right of the building as you're looking at the site plan. There's a small gully there. We cross that gully with a small footbridge. We have done wetlands delineations on the site to determine how that can go in. There'll be out the building and down the path to the aerial course. There is both a large aerial course as well as a smaller, what we call a Tykes aerial course. I'll speak to the specifics about those courses in a few moments. Next to that, we have what will be a miniature golf, 18 holes of miniature golf that will be between the road and the rest of the elements on the site. We have a patio and seating area that will be in the center of all of these elements. And then off to the left here, we have what will be a maze. And I'll speak to those again. I'll speak to that specifically in a moment. On the site, we will have walking paths. It's not shown here, but again, based on we provided this to the town staff and some initial comments. There will be a dedicated footpath from the parking area to the site. There's also obviously the existing walking approach from Town Square along the pond that continues to intersect with the existing trail. The elements themselves, I described the building briefly, the maze, there's a picture in your packet of the maze. Again, these are not color representative, but they are scale representative of the size of the maze, that would be installed in this area. That maze just goes on to a concrete slab. It is, metal posts that secure movable panels, and with an entrance and exit to the maze. The miniature golf course, there's a simple layout of the miniature golf course in the packet there, as well as on the landscape plan, you can get a sense of the layout of the miniature golf course. I provided the layout separately just because some of the landscape elements obscure the holes a little bit. There is a water course element on the miniature golf course. And then the aerial courses themselves, we have been looking at this, what we call the tree course as a possible aerial course. This is a very unique and new product, which we find very, very compelling. It is an aerial adventure course that takes the shape of a tree. It is very tall, obviously. It's 85 feet at the top of the field. It has 3 levels of activity. It has an observation deck at the top that can all access through a spiral staircase that goes through the center of the tree. And with that course, there would be, we are proposing there would be an elevator to allow full access to the observation platform level of that structure. In the case of the tree being the large aerial course, next to it would be what we call the Tikes course. Again, you have a picture of that in the packet that was handed out. Once again, not color representative, but that is the layout and scale of the Tikes course. Alternatively, because the tree presents a number of challenges, both cost, logistically, engineering, has different engineering requirements than some of the other aerial course products that are out there. It has different staffing requirements. We are also looking at alternatively installing what is in your packet as the RCI course. You can see that course in there as well. It would sit on this same footprint that is shown for the proposed aerial course and the kids aerial course. This is just a little bit more elongated. It is 48 feet tall at the top of the steel. It contains many of the similar aerial ropes elements in the air. It also contains what they call zip rails that allow for, there's essentially small zip lines that allow you to traverse the course in that manner. So those are the elements we are proposing for this site. I know there's other elements here we have I won't go in detail on every page of the plan, but the plan has the existing conditions. We have a close-up of the site plan. We have a grading plan that shows stormwater retention in several areas on the site, water and sewer hookups, erosion control plan. Again, I'm not going to go into the detail at this point. There's outdoor lighting, all of this will of course be dark sky compliant. We have the landscaping plan that shows the proposed landscaping around the site, and you have the elevation. I have some pictures of the elevations here. I'll let folks see that. The style of the building is proposed to be a barn-like style posting beam with a metal roof that evokes the characters of a barn. Again, the lower level would be partially below grade. There'll be the walking path will walk up the grade to the main level, but there are also entrances in and out facing the trail. Where traffic for Adventure Center with mountain bikes and Nordic skiing would go in and out through those lower level doors. We have, in addition to the site plan, landscape plan, and we have all the other elements we have submitted. If there's anything else you want me to go into more detail at this point, speaking about the application itself, please let me know.
Alan,
You mentioned somewhere in these documents a fence. Can you be more specific?
Well, yes, there'll probably be there'll be 2 types of fencing. There'll have to be fencing around some of the structures so they cannot be accessed off hours. For example, the aerial courses come with fences and locking gates. We also would propose to put probably a more decorative fence around the mini golf course area. But the exact look and feel of that, we have not decided yet.
So it comes with a chain link fence?
No, it would, no, the gates around the structures to prevent unauthorized access would be more decorative metal fences. Not chain link fences. That's not the type of fencing we're talking about.
Second question, is there a possibility you can add like motion sensors and lights that go on? Should the fence be broached when nobody's there?
Absolutely, we can do those things. Yeah.
Third question, sorry.
No,
Mhm.
that's
The
absolutely.
the E building, I didn't
Yes.
understand what you said. Is that going to be on this site or not?
You mean, are you referring to that plan?
Where, yes, that plan.
So
with the
there's a
condos.
building for folks who aren't familiar, that is a conceptual, master plan for development within the commercial zones. That Tyrell has presented previously to the planning board. Last updated, I believe, in September 2023. There's a building labeled E on there, that actually probably juts a little bit into there. We still. This may have an effect on the positioning of that building and its shape. But we are not proposing that is something that would be eliminated from our conceptual plan. We just may look at reconfiguring around that. That is a long-term master development plan, though. We're not proposing those buildings today. That is a mixed-use building, which is not what we're proposing on this site plan today.
Last question, sorry. On the landscaping, are you proposing to plant mature trees or something small and wait for them to grow?
I would think it's gonna be a mix. We have not specified the heights of all the trees. You can see on the plan, the different types of trees we propose to plant in different areas of the site. Obviously, screening is a significant issue, and so we will do our best to have as significant landscaping as we can to achieve that.
Thank you.
Rich, could you point out what building E is?
This building here.
Right. Okay, next step in the process, I'll introduce to you Liz Emerson, who is our consultant from North Country Council. We have prepared a checklist. And I think it's then time to go through it if there's no more information you want to give us.
I don't think so. I think as things come up that I need to address, but
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Can I just ask one more?
Yes, go ahead.
So the ropes course looks like it's one of two designs, I think. So
Yes.
you'll have a lighting plan that sort of goes along with that.
Yes.
And the golf course is probably a little bit more, I'm making an assumption here that it's a little bit more of a TBD layout.
Well, the layout is on there as, you can see it in the link. That's a layout, yeah, and that, if you look at the landscape plan, that has been inserted in there. It's just, I printed that out separately because landscape plan, it can be kind of hard to see the positioning of the whole, I'll flip to it here. It's just because of the overlap of what the landscaper put on here for all of these tree elements. It's
Okay.
a little bit hard to see the, some of the whole. So I printed that out separately so you can see kind of just the flow of the course.
So I guess my
Yes.
question, just to jump ahead to it, is you'll have a this lighting plan will get updated with whatever lighting. I think I saw you might want to have that open till 10 p.m.
Yes.
And so you'll have to have,
We would have to have, yes,
Overhead.
but again, it would all be dark sky compliant lighting that we would add to that.
okay,
If we update the lighting.
thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments from the planning board?
No, just when we go through.
Okay. Then I'll proceed with the checklist. And Steve, put that, in other words, is it possible to put any of these illustrations on the screen, Steve?
Believe so. Do you have those on the folder?
No, because they just got them this morning.
Oh, we don't have them.
We don't have them PDF yet. We'll have them at the next meeting,
Okay,
and they'll be available here at Town Hall after this.
the a long list of items that, well, Liz and I have started to go through. everybody know who Liz is? Stand up and say hello. On this, it's an elaborate procedure, but it's, a great deal of it has, already been, checked off. So I'll quickly go through them and then we can look at any of those that don't have a checkbox. So the statement of the qualified engineer, the site map, as you've seen, is that checklist on the screen yet? No. Here it comes. So see the work that the planning board has done. The site map is present. What I'm trying to do is illustrate to you how many things have to be present in order for a plan to be judged complete. And once it is complete, then the planning board can move on to the next step, which is the public hearing. So all of these things have been done. We know what the boundaries are. We know what the scale is. Now, the dates of all revisions is, that is, I have the, each one of the presentations, each one of the elements of information have been presented. It's moving. And have all the revisions been complete? It's, I would say,
Revisions to the site plan?
yes.
Well, this is our first submission, so, but as we have seen as we go through this process, we, based on feedback and information we receive, or as we go through the process, we provide revised plans as we move through the process, so this is the first revision.
Okay, in other words, we can expect more.
Well, yeah,
And-
I think that's always been part of the process, is it's an iterative process as we move through the planning board process.
Okay, that's understood. The engineer might have something to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, for the record, Paul Chisholm, I'm with Keach Nordstrom for the engineers and surveyors of record. All the drawings and all the documents that my company produces has a revision block somewhere on it, so that any future revision is dated. The original date of creation of the documents is listed, and then any subsequent revision is then listed thereafter. So we do have a placeholder for all of that when the time comes to actually make that update.
Okay, my comment is that to judge it complete. That is, if there are more revisions coming, then at this moment, it's not complete. But that is, if
No.
you know that things are coming,
Well, they don't know what those things are yet.
yeah,
so-
if you don't know, certainly we don't know,
So
and that,
we have the plan in front of us.
Right, but we're looking at what this plan is that's in front of us, whether this plan in front of us is complete or not. That's what this discussion's about.
Yep, there's no revisions.
There's
as
no
of right
revisions is what
now.
he's saying.
However, the applicant did state in a response to us that there may be coming. So when those come, they just have to have a date on them.
okay, so it's,
So as of right now, yes, it's complete.
It's complete,
Because there's no
yeah.
revisions on this current plan that you guys are looking at right now. But like the the bike path, the ped path, that'll need to be updated. So that will be a revision with a date.
Right, what typically happens is, and I think we've received some feedback from town staff and, after reviews of the plans, we received those maybe, a week or two ago, just not enough time to actually make a revision, produce a plan, resubmit it to you, have enough time for everybody to look at it again before it gets into your hands.
mhm,
That's kind of, revisions will happen when they will happen through the course of the project, but at this point in time, there aren't any revisions to show you. Everything that you see here is the current up-to-date and initial submission, if you will.
okay. Proceeding through the list, we know all of these things that have been placed on the checklist and those that have been checked off. One of the questions that I have, and what Liz also has, is the location of all of the buildings on the property and the location of those buildings that are within 200 feet of them. And what changes that how this application may affect any surrounding buildings. I could say we don't know yet what that is.
We were just requesting that the condos, the newly built condos across the street, that are to be
Oh, that,
added.
sorry, that be shown on the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, understood, all right.
Cool. That's good.
Okay, so that's an element. I'd say we're almost there, but yes. Because this application is attracting a lot of attention, we want to be as rigorous and complete as we can possibly be, because no matter what we do, there's going to be some criticism. And we want to expose the town and the planning board to as little of that as possible. Okay, so we know what,
Bill, it's Mike
Uh-oh.
from way up north. I'm gonna lose my access in about 2.5 minutes. I have no idea when I'm getting it back. I'm in the middle of the North Country of Iceland. And on a ship, and things come and go periodically. Would it be possible for me to get a copy? I'll get home tomorrow, a copy of that packet? Will that be
course.
available to me? Either drop it off at my house, or I'll come up to town hall and get it, or
no,
Email.
special delivery, Mike.
it's like I tell everybody in the valley, you know where I live.
Yeah, but you're not there now, Mike.
Yes, okay. Ready? We'll do that.
I
Moving on.
appreciate it, guys. I'm gonna lose you in about 30 seconds. We're going between the mountains, and funny things happen to internet and everything else then. So I appreciate everything, and this sounds like we'll have fun over the course of the summer. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye, Mike. One item that's still on the list is the street profile and cross sections. What, we know there's a dotted line across Valley Road. We know that there's,
Yeah, we will work with the developer and staff to determine what kind of cross section, if anything, is necessary with that connection.
Right.
Water lines.
right, but what people, I guess, maybe don't know is that dotted line means that Valley Road's going to be cut.
Well, yeah, we're gonna work with them. There are other options, so we'll
Options.
continue to work on that
Okay,
before
no,
the next meeting.
Is it fair to say then we leave that item on the list? That
Well,
is,
if it is necessary, yes, it would stay on, but if we don't have to cut the road, then you may not need the cross section.
praise be
We'll
if
work
that,
that out.
if that be the case, yes.
There are other possible options for connecting to water that don't involve that particular route.
Right, and
Excellent.
so from a completeness standpoint, he has provided a water connection and a sewer connection plan. We are still working with staff and the engineer to determine if those are the best ways to do it, or if there's another way to do it. If we determine there's another way, it'll be on the revision,
Okay,
but it is submitted.
that's right. In other words, is it there? And the answer is yes, it's there.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of being complete or not complete.
Correct.
That item is checked.
But no. Question about
Yes.
that, because it says on our site plans that they're also to include cost estimates and the methods of such costs. It's, if I'm reading this correctly, it's section 7D3. So in the application, it says that no public roads would be affected, but then on the site plan, there's the cross section, which may or may not happen, but today, as we sit here, it's there. And it says a statement of the work required on existing public streets to meet the minimum standards of subdivision regulations, including cost estimates and a method of meeting such costs. So I would assume the bond would cover the method, but like, what's the cost estimate of that, that's my question.
Okay,
That was not submitted. There was some, it's on the site plan, but it's not on the application, so,
So
I think
this
that's,
site plan's a little different than what we sometimes see because there's no subdivision involved.
okay,
And so all the subdiv regs are set aside, right?
Okay.
Because we're not doing a subdivision. When we determine what the connection will be and where it will be and all that, then they can determine what the cost would be. We're also, their proposal does not tie into any public road. So there's right now no cost for that, and we're unsure what the cost would be for water or sewer connections. So let staff work with the developer to revise the plans if we need to, and then they can develop the cost estimate. I know that the box was checked that there's no impact on town roads. There's no new connection to the town road, so that's correct. If they cut the road, that would be under the water portion, and we'll calculate a cost to put that back.
So if I'm understanding, but, okay, so wait, I guess questions to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So because it's not a subdivision, they don't have to include the cost then? Or is it because on the plans as it is presented, it does have the saw cut on there? They would, they would need to. I understand that they may not, we're looking at other options.
Yep.
But just for completeness.
For completeness, we're hoping we won't saw cut. So
But if we
We-
do
we
saw
don't-
cut, we should have had an estimate.
we will get
Or not.
we'll ask them for a cost estimate of that if we have to go down that route. That's what I'm talking about, having it on the revision. We'll provide that information, but right now it's hopefully gonna be a moot point, because hopefully we can connect without cutting the road. That's our goal. From a completeness standpoint, that's your call, but I don't see any benefit to making them do a cost estimate on something that might not happen.
Yeah.
And we may even change the way that they plan to saw cut it if we do end up connecting around the place where they propose. Whichever way we go, we will get a cost estimate, if that's what the board wants.
Right, but
Okay.
from the point of view of being transparent to the public, then the next time that we discuss this, let's assume that, well, there's still some items here that are not complete. So then we'll meet again as a planning board to discuss the completeness. Okay.
Yep.
So the next time that there's a public planning board meeting, we'll be able to provide more detail about this. All right, next item on the list. You can see how many of these that have been checked off. And that there's a great deal of information that's provided here so that we're only a few steps away from completeness. But Mark, are we satisfied that the coordination with all of the town department managers, that is, it's an ongoing process?
It is, and we provided you with our comments to the developers from the department heads.
Yes.
And they've already responded to several of those questions. It is a process that is ongoing. But we have a sufficient plan to at least look at and start asking those questions. And we'll give you the revision at your next meeting.
Okay. That is it. I'm trying to avoid asking detailed questions about that would deal with the merit of the proposal, because that's not what we're talking about today.
Again, we have a sewer connection, we have a water connection proposed. They may not be what is actually built in the end, but they're there.
Yeah.
So from a completeness standpoint, everything for the staff is present with what's currently proposed.
All right, that there is a plan
Mhm.
and it is present. And from the point of view of, say, public safety, there is
There is
access
a
for
plan,
emergency
but-
vehicles.
But we already have told them that we have questions about emergency access and things like that, and we'll work through that. But the starting point will be what they presented to us.
Okay. So then from my point of view, it is present, therefore the application is complete from this point of view.
Other than those things that are not checked.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to deal with now. I'm looking at Alicia. I'm moving on to landscape plan.
They skipped over service area.
Well, let's see, all of these are check.
Page number one. Service areas.
Service areas. All right, do you have a comment on that, Liz?
I didn't see any areas depicted on the plan for service areas, for deliveries and whatnot. So, if we could get that added.
I could add for James' attention, service areas for deliveries and for waste removal. That is,
So service areas is for like deliveries and pickups.
Right.
If there's going to be food service in the building, then where would they be dropping it off? Just depict that on the plan.
We will depict that, yeah, we were, the existing, there's an existing access road around the ice arena.
Mhm.
And that continues over to the building, we will properly depict that as that's the intended path for that.
right, because there's always discussion about
Absolutely.
how do you get the vehicles in? How do you get the vehicles out? You know, that if the site is populated, you know, if they say there are 1,000 people there, how much, you know, that'd be a good day, right?
That would be quite a day.
Yes, all right. Maybe fewer than that, but you know, many people there, vehicles going in, vehicles coming out, you know, how do you get the trash out and that sort of thing. That, in other words, a little more detail would be very helpful. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry if I'm going backwards, but the ADA compliance piece of it, I know, in one of the comments I saw that, it's gonna be the parking for, the ADA to be in compliance with ADA was gonna be at the top or the beginning of a pedestrian path. It was in one of the comments I got yesterday. So if I mean, I would like to see where that parking would
Yes,
be
again.
on there and how many spaces do you have to have? What's the formula or whatever to have those to be in compliant ADA rights?
And the formula's a little challenging, I think, as you know, in the zoning ordinance, there's a chart that shows parking ratios and things like that. This isn't really quite something that is covered in that, so, and in response to the answers that were sent to us, we provided more information on that. In terms of the parking, we will show the designated ADA spaces, what we would like to designate in that parking lot next to the ice arena, which will have an ADA compliant path that leads from there to the building.
So the parking spaces don't, is it like 200 feet or something? They don't have to be, so whatever, that'll be on the.
Yeah,
plan,
it will be in,
what
yes, but it will be in
200 feet,
compliance
whatever
with,
it's gonna be.
it will be in compliance with ADA rules.
All right, I turned my page. I'm down to signage. That is, once again, so many of these items have been checked and the plan is, we're very close to being complete. But from our point of view, and the planning board's point of view, it would be good if you had a signage plan as to what signs are going to be on the site and what the signs will be telling people about the site.
Okay.
And the location and proposed screening of all the, you know, exterior mechanical, electrical, auxiliary structures, that sort of thing.
That should be included in the landscaping plan. That would be, that's part of that.
Is that coming?
We've got it.
It's in.
Oh,
Is it already there?
11 AM, I didn't get a chance to review it really.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's there.
But there's a plan.
Okay, the point is, there is a plan.
It just has to be a plan.
Yes, that's right. I get it. And that's precisely what we are trying to accomplish.
Well, bring it up.
The,
Okay.
in order to be complete, my understanding is that the landscaping should have been submitted 21 days ahead of time of a regular scheduled planning board meeting. and to give the board an opportunity to make thoughtful, make sure that everybody can review it. And I didn't get it till yesterday, so I didn't.
Yep.
It's actually supposed to.
Well, it's the same at the, I hadn't seen these elevations previously,
Till today,
but
yeah.
yes. But the fact that they're there is, well, very encouraging. All right, any, well. With this. There's a box here that says, does the proposal fit with the that is the town surroundings and character? That to me is a judgmental position or a judgmental statement, what will be at the review meeting after we declare that this presentation is complete. So where it stands now, there are 2 or 3 items that are still outstanding. And what I would propose doing is saying that it's to a minor degree incomplete, and that we would ask for additional information. And then what it is likely to occur is that the planning board will call another meeting to finally review the completeness and declare it complete so that we can have.
Specify which items are not complete?
Yes, so the exterior signage, kind of what they're gonna look like, or locations depicted on the plan. Adding the condos to, next to Golden Heights Road. Adding the updated bike and pedestrian plan, path to, the adventure zone. A little more concrete plan for the water and sewer interconnect, and I don't know how quick that'll be. But if the town is happy with what's going on, then that'll suffice. Depicting the service area on the plan. Depicting the handicap parking near the ice arena. Depicting the overflow parking. If necessary. And you answered most of the questions that I had, in your responses, so thank you. Those were awesome. And then, is the lights. I think that's all of it.
I have a question. Does the location of the lighting need to be on there or no? That's TBD.
So there is a lighting plan.
but-
Yeah,
There's a lighting plan.
Okay.
I believe it's. No,
I know it was like maybe.
yeah. Well, the point is that there is a plan.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to decide today. Is the plan complete?
Yeah, sheet 6 is the lighting plan.
Yes, I've seen it. Is that satisfactory, James?
Yeah, some of those things I think are not necessarily. Checklist items, for example, we can provide a signage plan. I would say that, a lack of signage is, I'm not trying to be cute here, but
Yeah.
a lack of signage is not necessarily doesn't mean. If you're requesting we have more signage, that's fine. We can update that. We've provided a plan that even though it doesn't show specific signage, doesn't mean it's not complete from that regard. You can ask for there to be additional signage than what we've shown. And that was a question that came up in the comments that were said. And we said, sure, we can develop. There was feedback from the town that said more signage around parking and things. Those weren't included on the plan because we hadn't contemplated that, but we can add those things.
I didn't see any signs depicted on the plan. Maybe I missed it. Any sign update, please?
No, I didn't either. But no, we're talking about, small items, which it means the distance between where we are and complete is not great.
Is there a third option?
Not that I know of.
You can table it.
Can't we approve it can't we accept it with conditions with a time certain?
Yes.
That's the
yeah,
third option.
You guys
All
could
right.
definitely table it and just, before the end of the 30 days, which is the 23rd, I believe.
Yep, we do have a ticking clock here.
Yes, so the discussion for completeness could be just tabled. And then, if they can get this stuff on the plan prior to the date that you guys choose, then you guys could take up the application.
No,
again.
fully intend to do that. No, we're not gonna let this expire.
Hmm.
Katie,
I think at the beginning of the meeting, you stated that there were three options today. There was exception, rejection, or exception with condition.
that's at the time when the planning board has its meeting to discuss the merits of the plan. We're not talking about that today.
I thought that was about the. exception.
No, that's not happening today. No, the procedure is that we decide that it's complete, nearly complete. And then there's a public hearing. And then the planning board gathers what it has and the comments from the public hearing has another meeting to discuss the merits. At the merit meeting,
Gotcha.
the decision is announced. So a proposal from our ex officio is.
No, I think we should be very specific on what we're requesting. I sense there's some confusion as to what the board is asking.
No,
I mean, we should be providing them, I think, in writing with what's left to be done for it to be complete, and then a date by which we would like to see it.
Yes,
But we have our own 30-day by state law time clock that we have to fulfill. So we've got until, say, the 23rd of
June 23rd.
June. So today is
The 12th.
the 12th.
right, no,
So-
fully intend to have it done by then.
Can we say that, can it be, give them more time to say, we'll take it up at the next meeting in July? That at this point, it's not
Well,
complete.
that's-
I mean,
that-
you
that's
know,
beyond
we
the
talked about
expiry
it,
date.
Well, then we're voting it's incomplete, then they
At
have
this
to
time.
resubmit,
Right, yes.
and they would.
So
Then
yes,
just
if
do it.
if the planning board votes and says it's incomplete, makes a motion, everyone votes in favor of that. Then we would start from square one. You can table the discussion until a date certain, and that would just put a pause on it.
Okay.
That doesn't make us reset anything, as long as you state the date, the time and the place. Then we can just table it and then pick up the discussion. Once we have these additional items added to the plan,
Okay.
then you guys can continue the conversation.
So is there a time frame of when we would prior, like, so let's say we decide to do, I don't know how we're gonna vote, but like we decide to say, okay, we're gonna have a meeting on June 22nd or whatever. So that's within the 30 days. But prior to that, how much time we need to be given to be able to review the information? You know, am I being clear about what I'm asking? Like, is
So
there
you
a
want a
time frame, like,
deadline
is it-
of the revisions done?
Yeah, to give us time to like go through and look, oh, you know, and just more than, 24 hours,
Mark, do you have a comment? Okay, I think then that's a good approach. I don't want to stop this process because I think we can complete it. And that then we table it and set a time when we want the additional information.
And I would just specify in writing.
Say
what that
June
informa-
19.
What that information is.
So if we pick the date, June 19th,
June 19th,
So that
is
then-
Next Thursday.
then we had time to call another meeting.
So June 19th to receive the updated documents.
Yes. So 7 days from now. And then another planning board meeting by no later than the 23rd.
So we receive them by the 19th, that's Thursday, the 23rd is the following Monday, so that would give you 4 days to review it.
That'd be fine.
Yep.
So then someone will just have to make a motion to table this discussion until the 23rd and then set a time. And then you'll have the vote.
Okay, the 23rd is a Monday.
I'm working.
We want you here. Anybody have a problem with that date?
Checking.
Sorry, did you say you're working?
Yeah, I am, but if you have a quorum, it's fine.
Well, what do we want to do?
You can have the meeting in the evening.
Well, the previous would be Friday.
20th.
but then it
People?
gives you only the one day.
That's true.
You were
I'm
asking for
working that
more.
day too.
Then
You guys can do the 23rd.
Okay, I'm prepared to go ahead with the 23rd.
You can ask them to have it back before.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Ask them when they can have it ready.
Okay, I provided, at least suggested the 7 days. But, James could tell me that he's gonna have it ready before 7 days.
Well,
we just have to. notice
Okay,
10
then,
days.
No, so when you table,
It's
when
the
you're
same.
tabling an application, you don't have to renotice. As long as you specify a date and time.
okay, today's Thursday the 12th, Tuesday's the 17th. The bits of information that we need are available, then we decide. Have a meeting on the 19th, a planning board meeting on the 19th to determine completeness.
Or I thought that was the
thought you-
23rd.
that was the
Could it be the
23rd.
Well, I
20th?
think we
Yes,
just need to
but
find
the
out.
suggestion is here that maybe
Well, I
the
think we
information
need to
can be
find out
provided
from-
sooner. I heard a comment from the floor from the engineer who said that, yes, it could be. So I'm moving the process forward.
So documents due by the 17th.
Documents due by the 17th, planning board meeting on the 19th to determine completeness.
That gives us 2 days.
If anything goes wrong, we have until the 23rd to fix it. Yes, Margaret?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't understand the 23rd time limitation.
When the submission is provided, that is, the application is provided as a date and time of that, then we have 30 days to make our decision. Once the 30 days has expired, it's either then determined to be complete by default, or that if it's still being deliberated and that the planning board decides that it is incomplete, the process must start again.
Okay, and that's based on whatever date is on the
Yes.
submission.
On the submission, that's correct. The submission, the date and time of the submission starts the clock. We got 30 days to have this done. It's either complete or it's not complete. And if it's,
I had not received it until the 30th, I believe, May 30th.
Yeah, we
But
have a, we have a review by staff that happens. You got it on the 10-day notice to the public. So
Okay.
that's part of that 30-day
All right,
period.
thank you.
is there a motion?
Can I just ask one more question?
You can.
That hopefully not add to these guys' list, but I assume that the fence that's gonna go around to prevent sort of unauthorized use there after hours or whatever is gonna have to be tall enough to keep people out. And maybe configured in a way that, you know, makes it painful to get over or whatever. Do we need to have, or should we have some renderings and detail on what that fence
You can
looks
request
like,
it.
or?
Yeah,
how
we
else
can-
it's required, you can.
We,
you can
we,
provide
yes,
it.
I mean, there's obviously quite a bit of information that's not actually on this checklist that we can provide. You guys have the discretion to ask for more information. That would certainly be covered under that. I mean, the elevations, for example, are not technically part of the checklist, but they are something that we want to
Included on the
provide.
engineering.
All of these aerial core structures have this same issue with unauthorized access, so it's something they provide with it as an element, so we can certainly get visuals of that as well, and the options they provide to make sure these things are secure.
I'm sort of.
Safety is obviously a very big issue as a
Yeah.
resort operator as well. Safety is a primary concern, so goes into everything we're thinking about here.
I think I'm sort of reacting to a separate thing that's been going on with regard to a structure. This particular one, I think you've said is, you know, outside of the setback on the public way, but given that it's right there, it'd be nice to see what
Fence would look like.
the fence would look like, how tall it is.
And again, if there's other information you want to request that's not specified on that whole checklist of items that, again, we went through that. And sometimes there's some gray area, obviously, in what these checklist items are asking for.
Yeah.
And so, we will address the ones that you have found are not there, in the time you specify here. And then any other additional information requests that come through, obviously, we'll do our best to provide it.
Good. Okay,
So the motion is to, what was the date?
table,
Yeah, but what was the date? A couple of
the
dates. thrown out.
17th.
17th documents will be due. Planning board meeting the 19th, and then, that's what the proposal was, but somebody needs to make the motion and also specify a time
Of the meeting,
of the meeting.
of the meeting. yeah.
At a time.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the date
the
and time.
19th is a Thursday, like this day, and the usual planning board meeting, special meeting, specifying that we meet at 8 AM on the 19th for the sole purpose of determining completeness. I'm waiting for the motion.
Oh, you're looking at me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
So, I will move
I'm
that.
not
we-
gonna be able to make a
we-
motion.
We table the application, the discussion on completeness until, and we request from the applicant certain information. Specifically, we will provide what it is we're looking for in writing by the 17th of June, and that the planning board will meet next at 8 AM here on the 19th of June to continue this discussion on completeness.
Second.
I hear a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you very much.
Satisfactory? Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe I could propose a 2-minute break recess.
Nope. You need to take one of these. So this is the actual landscaping plan that goes with that.
Oh, he's
It
gonna
should be
do a
all-
2
it
minutes.
should be all-
was already on your website.
Yes, so what they didn't have was a landscaping plan and we requested one, so that's the addition.
And the appearance of some of these structures. I didn't see any on it.
Did they have handouts? I got one
I didn't get
handout.
any of it. I'm curious.
Yeah, ask them, I think Mark said that they would,
More? Are you recording?
Do you
Well, I
want
was, I
more?
just unmuted.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the report from the White Mountain National Forest reporter, Rick Smith.
So, it was definitely sort of the biggest item that's sort of present topic for everyone. There has been the presentations that were made regarding, by the Forest Service regarding the gondola plan and associated buildings and everything that goes along with that. That's affecting the EIS process, the environmental impacts statement, I think, is what the S is for.
Study.
So
Study.
It's generally gonna take about a year for them to kind of work through that, and the work through that is based on their own analysis, but also public comment, which, by the way, is, I think, ending up on the 16th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So if people have I'll make a comment on the things that they care about in the environment over there, where the gondola is gonna go and where it's gonna impact, to be doing so via, there's a couple of different methods to do it. If you go to the resort's website, they have great information on that. In addition to the project page on the National Forest, and make your, the public should make their comments, or folks in this room do that. So that's the big one, sort of starts the clock ticking after the 16th for their environmental impact. Another one that's sort of in flight right now is that's, believe it or not, part of the projects that go on in the National Forest is the move of the they took out the lift and are putting a new T-bar in along the right side of the White Peaks Trail. I don't know if people know where that is, but in any case, not a huge impact I believe from a town perspective. It's more of a, how do we get people up the mountain to certain places they want to. That particular project is supportive of night skiing, so if people have an opinion on that, they should probably weigh in there. That project's underway, so it's sort of, they're doing it now. I don't know how far along they are, I haven't been up there. But those are the two sort of bigger ones that are sort of impactful to the town. And I guess the T-bar one is a little bit more around, they also have a project to put more permanent lighting up there for night skiing. So today they use temporary lighting structures that are basically run off a generator that are up there. They want to put more permanent lighting up there. I don't believe that's moved forward yet, but that's all sort of linked together. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but if you go on Triple I Road right now, last 2 winters ago, there was quite a bit of logging that was done. I think it's outside of Waterville Valley, but on the way up to Russell Pond. Last winter, they did these, if you were coming in towards Waterville Valley from Woodstock, on the right-hand side of Triple I, there's been quite a bit of logging in there. You can expect that there'll be additional logging projects along the way, closer to Waterville Valley. So there's some things being planned for that activity, and it's being done under the guise of sort of a more environmental approach, meaning create habitat, get rid of trees that are sort of not necessarily, they're native, but they're not native to the extent that they're there right now. So any of this clear cutting will create more birch forest and certainly create habitat for moose, deer, and whatever else, different birds and things like that live out there right now. So they're going to actively do that. I've seen nothing about, other than that the Forest Service plans to start selling more logging rights across the national forest all over the US, but there's been nothing very specifically mentioned here in our town. That's all I got.
Okay.
Sorry, more than you want.
No, I think it's an important addition to the planning board regular schedule. One comment I would make is that the forest stated that their environmental impact study would take about 3 years to complete. And it's a long and lengthy process, and that the only focus on it, as it was stated by the presenter, was about hydrology, habitat, and scenic matters. And that there's nothing that is, from the planning board's point of view, that there's nothing presented that has any effect on planning board or planning board business. So that as a planning board, we have no comment on what is happening. That is, we have no comment on the EIS, we have no comment on the proposed development by the resort on Green Peaks, because there's nothing in front of the planning board right now. So it's their business. And that,
As long as you're bringing that up, can I do my thing?
True thing.
no, I wanted to, your thing will happen. Okay, I'll bring it up again, but I wanted to hear the report from the select board, from the ex officio.
So the one major thing also deals with the EIS. The select board decided to send a letter to the relevant folks at the Forest Service commenting on the EIS, but only on two issues, neither of which is a judgment pro or con on the plan. It's just to point out two facts that we think the Forest Service should be mindful of. One is that the plan provided by the Waterville Valley Resort indicated that the new base station, mid-base station, would connect to the current sewer line. And as people here may know, we're in the process of putting in a new sewer, wastewater, should I get the right terminology, right? Wastewater treatment facility. And so that sewer, and we are responsible for accepting and treating the sewage that comes from the mountain. So the issue here is that that line may not be there. Very dramatic.
That's
That kind of fits, actually. Yeah.
Apologize.
So it actually fits
Add a little
because
drama.
there's an issue of whether the sewer line will actually be there in that place. So we wanted to make that point to the Forest Services. They're considering the overall plan with regard to the line. The other point we wanted to make is that the presenter, Justin, whose last name I forget, from Priesendorf from the Forest Service, indicated that there was no plan put forward by the resort for increased resources for water with regard to snowmaking. That I guess it was going to depend on either what it has, or there may be other projects where they're going to put in more water, but it wasn't part of this development. So we wanted to point out that the resort does draw water from Corcoran Pond, which is owned by the town, and there's a sedimentation issue. So as the years pass, there's going to be less and less water available for snowmaking, and the resort has an easement for the water in that pond. They can take as much water as they want. So
Okay.
those are the 2 points we wanted to make. And then Alan came in front of the board and said we have to be very mindful and careful of the language with regard to protecting our rights as a town to comment in the future. So we added a sentence that basically said to this letter, which I think the select board plans to sign today. It's already been approved, the draft. We approved it, I think yesterday, whenever we had our last meeting. But that the town reserves the right to comment further on these two items or any other items related in the future related to this particular project. So that letter would speak for the town. It's come from the select board in this case, but I think we wrote it as this is for this is the town comments at this time,
Okay,
at least as the select board sees it.
thank you, Rich.
And I don't think there was anything else related to the planning board that I can think of. Mark, that's happened since we've met last.
Say again.
The structure, the definition of structure that was the only thing that related to
Yes.
the.
Oh, well,
That's
Bill did
still on
come
the
and yell at
agenda.
us if that's
I
what
was
you're.
there.
Yeah, that's right. You were there.
No, that's still on the agenda. But right, while we're on this topic, I wanted to turn to Alan to do his thing.
I think the planning board needs to send a letter similar to what the select board sent. Primarily to establish our status, standing in this process of the EIS. I think you've all seen a letter or whatever that I sent personally to the Forest Service, which says the town is considered, even by the resort in their documents, a connected entity to this expansion proposal. And yet nowhere in this whole document do they address the effects on the town. And I think the planning board needs to send a very simple letter that says, similar to the select board, we want you to understand that we want the town writ large included in the EIS proposal. That's all it has to say. But if you don't put something comment in during this scoping period, you're gonna get shut down anytime you wanna make a comment later. I'm not saying for or against the proposal, it doesn't matter. Just that we, as a planning board, think that the EIS should include the effects on the town as evidenced by the conceptual plan as part of the entire project. And not, it's not separate, it's a connected entity.
Okay, I've already made my comment, and that is the way the planning board functions is that it doesn't make judgment or make comment on things that are not before it. That is, unless there's an application and unless there's some effect that is to be judged in relation to the ordinances, the planning board doesn't have any comment. Any other,
You're asking me to prove a negative, more or less.
well,
Because
No.
it's not in the EIS, you say we shouldn't comment on it.
no, it's that
My
the,
comment is it should be in the EIS.
my comment is that the Forest Service or no one else has made a proposal, has not submitted anything that requires the impartial judgment of the planning board.
I'm not asking you to judge.
I think,
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'd agree.
I'm done.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with Bill. You know, it's not our function and the select board would be the place if there was, that's what you're saying?
So that's why I asked Rich for his comment to say that he speaks on behalf of the town.
yeah, I think
agree.
that we tried to incorporate what you're looking for, Alan, in the letter that we had already been planning to write. We added that to it, which says the town reserves the right to comment further on these specific issues or any future issue related to this project.
And we have forwarded that to council to make sure that that reserves our right. So that was a question we've asked council. So we have language in the letter from the select board, which is the entire town is reserving the right for further comment. And as part of the process. And if council tells us to word it differently, then we will. But we've asked him if that's sufficient to maintain our position in the EIS process. And he'll tell us yes or no. So we tried to include that language that you had requested.
Okay.
And the town would cover all the, so whether it's the planning board, the conservation commission, will be the other one, that other town board that may have
If
a
council's happy with that.
purchase.
I
Yeah, I
wish
think we were
that's-
trying to do what you were asking for.
I understand. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Good. Okay,
No, but
no, yeah.
He accepts it, but he doesn't approve it.
Yeah, no, what I meant was that you had your moment to say what you want to say
yes.
and to request what you wanted,
Fine.
and you got part of it. That is, council will make a determination.
Fine.
Okay. Got to keep you happy, Alan. Report from the Conservation ex officio, John.
Good morning, sure. So we
we haven't had much discussion on, too many things haven't moved along as fast as we'd like to, like Rick Vanderpool coming in to mitigate the pond issue. It's still scheduled for this summer. We haven't heard from Rick yet, but he is in place. His people are in place. I think he's waiting on something. Charles, you're on the board also. Do you recall that?
I think the issue is simply it's easier to do it when the water level goes down. So we wanted to wait until kind of late in the summer. It's a reduced project from what it was contemplated a year or two ago. But I think the plan is to go ahead with it this summer, but we have not had, that I know, any updates there.
No updates. It's just still the same, hopefully. Also, I'll bring what we looked at today to the Conservation Commission in regards to the plans here. So they can look at the drainage, plantings and that type of thing. We can look at that. I'm not sure when the next meeting is. Charles, do you know when the next meeting is?
Yeah, it's coming up couple of weeks now.
Yeah, so sometime maybe end of this month?
Oh, yeah, it's this month.
Yeah, so we'll have more information, but that's all we have at this point in time.
Was it 26th?
That sounds right.
26th.
Thank you, Cindy.
1 o'clock.
Okay, now I'll turn to the report from the town working group from Kathy.
Did not meet, so there's really nothing to report. Our next meeting is gonna be July 8th at 12:30.
Okay, thank you.
Anything exciting on the agenda?
No, I think that's why she canceled the meeting. So.
There was nothing exciting, or it was too
It
exciting,
was yeah,
one or the other. Right? Say July 8th,
July 8th at 12:30 is
Thank you.
my understanding. Meeting, yeah.
right? That's your
Okay.
normal time, right?
Yeah.
Normal time event, you just canceled out this month, basically.
The planning board did have a meeting, a special meeting to determine how we were going to proceed with the action plan formulated in the town master plan. And to report on the outcome of that meeting, I will ask Madam Secretary.
So that was on May 22nd. And just a quick summary of that, it was a special meeting scheduled for review of the master plan's action plan items. Items that listed the planning board or its subcommittees as primary or secondary parties were reviewed. We set a few goals at the beginning to set an ideal number of priorities, which we assumed less than 10. Identify major action items as priorities and identifies those items that may need a warrant article at town meeting 2026. Some notes to consider were that the SE group who we've hired, will identify their priorities or priorities for us in their view, because we've asked them to. And then also there will be things coming down from the New Hampshire State Legislature that we might need to address that we don't necessarily have at this moment. Our priorities were, I mean, to spare you the 8.3s, 12-3, dark sky, special civic zoning areas, the CIP subcommittee, the SC group pedestrian study, and parking were all priorities that we identified. It is in the notes that Alicia put in so that you can look at those, the meeting minutes in the future for those exact numbers. And then we identified a few potential amendments in no particular order. The state legislature changes like parking setbacks, ADUs, and more. We need to address the clarity of the definition of structures in relation to walls and fences. There's a proposal to change the title of section 8.4 to affordable housing rather than workforce housing. There needs to be done surveying for meets and bounds for Snows Mountain Special Zoning Area. Discussion about a special zoning for the Pond Loop Path, and then lastly, a capital reserve fund for dark sky compliance. All possibilities in the future to discuss. And that's it.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Bill,
Yes,
could I jump in for a second?
you may.
Actually, it builds on that CIP. So Jordan, Rick and I Because what's happened with the CIP subcommittee over the last few years is we wait until getting ready for town meeting and it's kind of more reactive. So Rick Jordan and I agreed with Mark that we'll meet more often. So I think that we should have, just a placeholder. It wouldn't be that we'd have updates every meeting, but with things coming down the path right now, it may be an active point of view, and I don't know, Rick and Jordan, if you want to
More.
add to that, more.
It's okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So you just asking to
Talking to it.
add it to the
Yes,
committee
Dan.
It's
report.
fine.
Okay,
Happens all the time.
You're just asking to be added to the committee reports. And if you
Exactly,
have nothing to say, you just,
just so it's a placeholder.
it's a placeholder
Put the CIP on the list of things.
on a list of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
You have a comment?
Okay with you,
Yeah.
Alicia? Yep.
So I think as part of our master plan review, we did it with the mind towards SC Group's review.
Yes.
And a meeting, I think they were gonna provide us in July, will meet with us in July. And we were gonna provide them what we thought prior to that meeting, the things that we wanted to concentrate on. So do we not have to generate some sort of paper, a list to SC Group in the near future, so they'll have it in time for our July meeting? Wasn't that the part of the main purpose of this
Could I
exercise?
ask you for said list?
Yeah, I mean, so is it more detailed than this?
Well, whatever we
No.
want. I mean, I'm just saying, I think the purpose was to inform SE Group in their review of the things that we think are most important for
Yeah.
us.
Just point them in the direction of our thinking.
So this is what we've identified as our priorities for the master plan. Yeah, I think you have a question, Bill, or a comment.
Oh, Cindy, good.
Is this SE group, is it the study that we did when, many years ago, that when I was on the planning board that was done?
Yes,
Same
Yeah,
group.
same group.
Same
The
SE group,
pedestrian
yes.
study.
Yep. We think that,
Right.
still the best consultant group with respect to ski areas, yeah.
So
Does that stand for SE?
It's the name of their company. It's just.
Yeah.
they had a name.
Mark,
Could I suggest you just put it down as an agenda item for your special meeting? Because we're gonna be posting an agenda for that. That the continuation, we can put it on there.
put what on there?
Post that
Circulate a
you-
list, you mean, on the
That
board?
you develop that list so you can send it to the SE group. Just put it on as an agenda item for the meeting.
Okay, that'll they get it done. That would,
They'll get it to them, yeah,
We'll get it to them because you were supposed to get it to them before July.
which is 10th, right? July 10th.
So that'll give them a
So-
couple of weeks.
So
to
if the
work.
board can approve a list of things we want to forward to, is that what you're
Yeah.
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
at our meeting next week?
right, after we finish with the completeness.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
all right, good enough.
You currently have just that one agenda item on. it.
That was sufficient in my view, but I'm perfectly happy to add this other item.
I think we have the list, like you have the list.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you-
I have like an executive summary that I typed up of all the things that we discussed, but
Do that and then just look at what Morgan produces. We can send that out prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
Look that
which
over,
is what day?
have it as an agenda item and vote on it. And then we can send it to the secret.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay.
Can I ask another question?
You may.
Is there a conflict of interest where you're dealing with the SE group in the foundation of Waterville Valley? But the SE group is also doing the study up at the mountain. Is there a conflict of interest? That's the only question I have.
Yes, and they determine how they would deal with it. In other words, there are two groups of people who, one group is dealing with,
Okay, so there's.
and
okay.
another group is talking to us.
And we've hired actually a planner from the North Country Council.
Behind you, Liz behind you,
There's no talking heads.
Right,
Thank you.
SE Group is, I think, just we've contracted them to help us with our zoning ordinance amendments and so forth, not to address site plans that come before us that relate to any development by Tyrell or the resort.
Thank you. I just wanted some clarification on.
No, it's fine, but,
Thank you.
and Liz is helping us with matters such as what we just dealt with today.
Okay.
SE Group would not touch that.
Nor would we want them to.
Yeah. And we're grateful that Liz is here.
Sure.
Yeah. Mark, do you have any comment on the legislation?
No. We'll get a summary from New Hampshire Municipal Association at the end of next week when all the final votes are cast. Right now, we're probably 50-50 in the legislation as far as things that the municipal association has opposed or supported actually passing. We have gotten 2 legislators on some of the issues. So we're doing okay. Yeah, I haven't seen anything significant that,
When I checked yesterday, there was
Sure.
nothing. I mean, there are bills on the governor's desk
Yeah.
that relate to zoning.
Yeah.
But she's not taken action on them yet.
and there's really nothing like the ADUs, as an example, they amended it so that detached ADUs were added to the legislation, which we already allow.
Yeah, we permit that,
So-
yeah.
And we already have the minimum zoning that's being
It may
considered
not
at a
im-
half an acre.
Right.
You know, so many things that they're passing won't affect us at all here.
I would recommend that at a July meeting, we should know by then, for
Yes,
sure.
we will.
By July 10th, we'll know what's been passed and signed into law with regard to land use. And so what our work product might have to be in the fall with regard to zoning amendments. So
Yeah, now-
I'd add that as an agenda item
Yeah.
for the July
Liz,
meeting.
You didn't see anything that.
Nothing
we
for
need to
you
worry
guys.
about. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still-
Yes.
still things being
Well,
cooked.
The thing is, most of the bills have been acted on other than the budget, so they're laser focused on the budget. That's great.
Good. So they may ignore some of the other seriously problematic matters. Okay,
Maybe.
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 Housing's a big deal. Housing is what's driving a lot of these bills on changes to zoning. So
Yes,
the process is ongoing, so there could be still influence put.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the
Put in
bills
play.
on the governor's desk is the parking change.
Yeah, that
to
would have an
one
impact.
spot.
Mhm.
Right.
Residential.
We have one
would
and a half.
affect us.
Yeah, we have 1.5.
Yeah.
So, you know, there will be some things you'll have to talk about, but not as bad as we first envisioned.
Okay,
And this fits with our schedule for SE Group too, for discussing in July at a July meeting.
fair enough. All right, so now we've reached the end of our items on this agenda. We've set a meeting for that is submission of data by the 17th, a special meeting on the 19th. We make a decision and then everybody will know before the end of the 23rd, the deadline of deciding that it's complete. And then we move on to our July, well, we'll set a meeting. At that time, we'll set a time, place and date for the public hearing.
Mhm.
And presumably a venue if we think we're gonna fill the house. We had extra, we had capacity here, yeah.
Capacity here.
How many chairs are here?
About 40 or so. We can get 40 in here. We weren't anywhere near that today.
No. Okay. Yes, sir.
Chair. So I have a couple of things I'd like to ask the board. Does anyone have a problem with me giving these plans to the conservation to look
They're
over?
public
They're
documents.
public.
They're public
Okay.
now, yes.
Charles, would you mind taking these? They're maps. You love maps.
I already printed them off, but
Okay, would you mind?
No,
This
you
is a
can't,
nice-
you can't give them the hard copy. They're available online. If people want to come in and look at them, they have to stay here for public inspection.
Don't we have a smaller one of these?
Yes,
Well, there are these here.
we have the 17 by 11.
Can you take those?
Oh, yeah, these are meant to be.
Yeah, those are meant to be.
The big
picked
ones
up.
are just part of like.
Well, when you pick up the big ones, that's what I was talking about. Those need to stay here.
Yep, understood, but
There's smaller ones right there.
if Charles, you take that today, that'd help us for our 26th June meeting.
And we will have the additional materials that will be added.
By the 17th.
Well, this stuff that they
Yeah,
gave
all that stuff
today.
is-
And the stuff that they gave today will be PDF and up on the website by
And
tomorrow.
that will include this detail on landscaping that I've not seen.
Yeah.
Yes, the
yeah.
landscape plan will be included. yeah.
Well, there is a copy of the landscaping plan here, though.
It's
too, if
right
you
here,
want that. Or you can combine.
Okay, also I have one other thing. It's an issue that I'm not sure if I should bring up.
So save it for
No, now we
non-public.
know that it.
We're gonna have
that
a,
We want to hear about it.
we're gonna have a quick non-public, John, if you want to save it for non-public.
They want to close the meeting first?
Yeah.
Okay,
Any
They'll
correspondence?
close. Yeah.
well, Alan's correspondence was,
We
discussed.
disposed of Alan.
No, it's correspondence,
We
not
did what you
Alan.
wanted.
You came close. I give you credit for that.
We tried
All right,
hard.
we tried that.
Perfect.
We just asked Liz if
Done is better than perfect.
Is does the planning board need? Can the planning board comment on the EIS if we don't? Put in a letter now during the scoping period?
I'll have to look into that, because I'm not 100% certain on that.
Would any of that come
The second-
before?
the second- wait a
It-
second, I'm sorry. The second question is, should the planning board comment based on my idea that this is a connected entity? And you've got 12 hours to answer those questions.
Got it.
Yeah,
And can you obviously talk to Mark, and council, and let us know? Thank you.
any other comments? Any other business? Do I hear a motion?
Do you want to go into non-public?
Motion to go into
I do.
non-public?
A motion to go into non-public?
Well, does that not mean that we close the meeting?
No, you have to come back after non-public and officially close. the
I
meeting.
see.
Adjourn the meeting,
Did we do?
because this is part of the meeting.
Do we adjourn the meeting?
Until, after non-public, non-public.
Okay,
Someone just makes a motion for 91A, whichever you're referencing.
Yeah, we're
to
making
go
it
into-
non-public for what purpose?
Possible legal.
Possible legal matter. So I
Okay.
made that motion.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
No,
we're now in non-public mode.
we gotta wait till she turns off. We gotta stay now.
Stay.
So after this, we come out of non-public, Bill, and then we
Then we